Okay, so here we are back with homework week number 15. We're going to go over Wednesday. The first problem, number 1, is an inequality. So we're going back earlier in the school year in a review. Now, a lot of students have difficulty deciding when they have a fraction. You need to make sure with this one you have an expression over the 4. So the first thing that we need to get rid of is the 4. I'm going to multiply 4 on each side. The 4 will cancel out, leaving me with just r plus 7 is less than, and I will do negative 19 times 4, which would be a negative 76. Keeping through, I now need just to get r by itself, so I have a plus 7, so I need to do the inverse of add 7, which is subtract 7, and if I do it on the left, I must also do it on the right. Now, if we were dividing or multiplying by a negative, we would flip the sign, but in this case, we're just subtracting, so there's no need to flip the sign. Just keep it as is, so I have r is less than negative 83. Now this is all that the question actually asked for, but let's go ahead and do a couple more steps just to make sure that we are keeping on track with all the things that we might potentially see on the EOG. So let's do our solution set. And again, we're looking at numbers that are smaller than negative 83. So in this case, thinking on the number line, negative 83, the number that would appear to the left, which would be the smaller number, would be negative 84, negative 85, negative 86, and then I'm going to include my dot, dot, dot to show that that will continue on forever. Now, let's go ahead and just graph it just so that we're going above and beyond. Miss Ward always likes to see the 0 on there first so that I can determine that you know which side's the negative side. Behind the 0, I'm going to go to the left because negative numbers appear to the left. I have a negative 83. Now, looking at the inequality sign, it is a less than sign. There is no equal there, so it's going to be open circle. And the direction, again, negative 84, negative 85, negative 86. My graph on the number line will also go to the left. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to number 2, and this type of problem tends to confuse a lot of students because they're not sure, do I multiply, do I divide? This problem has Leah runs 5/6 of a mile in 3/4 of an hour, which lets me know this is a rate problem, so I'm going to place miles or distance over time. So I'm going to have 5 over 6 divided by 3 over 4. Now, this is what we call a complex fraction. You would have seen these back, again, towards the beginning of the school year. I'm going to take this from vertical and I'm going to make it to horizontal. So now I'm going to have 5 over 6 divided by 3 over 4. Now, at this point, most students know where to go from here, which is use the tool keep, change, flip. So we're going to move to blue, keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction. 5 over 6, change the sign from division to multiplication, and flip the last problem. I now have 5/6 times 4/3. I'm going to just multiply across. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, this is not a good way to leave this fraction because it can be simplified. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify the problem. And I know that there's a common factor between 20 and 18, which is 2. I can simplify this to tens because 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then the bottom, or the denominator, I will simplify to 9 because 18 divided by 2 is 9. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer. It is an improper fraction, so let's go ahead and just place it as a mixed number, and that would be 1 and 1/9. Now, again, let's go ahead and make sure we use the units. That's 1 and 1/9 miles per hour. Make sure that you include that unit that goes behind just so that we know you know what you're talking about. Number 3 is really simple. You really don't need to show any work here because all the information is right there for you in the problem. Which expression shows the total with an increase of 20%? Explain how you know. There's really only one option here because we learn when we're dealing with percentages that a whole is 100%. Now, that would lead out, well, wait a second, there's 100% there, but it's not saying the total with an increase, it's not just saying 100. So we can go ahead and mark this one out. This has a subtraction. We know we're increasing. That's not a viable option either. So A is really my only option, and let's check just to make sure we're right. 100 plus 20% equals 120%. That is your answer. Don't need to necessarily show any work there. That's one of those really problems that you don't see often, that you really don't have to show a whole lot of work. Let's go ahead and look at proportional relationship. Let's go ahead. Oh, and before I move on from this one, make sure there is multiple parts to this question. I need for you to explain, and your teachers need for you to explain how you know that that is the answer. Is this a proportional relationship? This is a chart. When we were going through this the first time around, a lot of students were thrown off by the chart, but it's really not difficult. So all we'll do is I'm going to pretend like these are fractions, and I'm just going to cross multiply. 1 times 2, 10. 3 times 70. 3 times 70 is 210. 210 times 1 is 210. Yes, but I'm not done. I have to actually check all of the problems to make sure that they're all proportional, because I might have a problem further down. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 350, 1050. I'm going to multiply 210 by 5, and that would also give me a value of 1050. So yes, this is a proportional relationship. If I were to write an equation to show the relationship between dollars and pence, I'm going to make, again, this the